This is Cybersurgeon, and welcome to episode 2 of the Final Fantasy XIV Beginner's Guide Let's Play thingy. As you can see, after we finished the hunting log in the last episode, we have no quests currently. I didn't realize I'd done that, and it kind of creates a weird situation. But with a new, relatively new, feature added in with the Stormblood expansion, it's not that big of a deal, because of the fact that, one, if we were still below, we could just hit the map by pressing M and look around and find the nearest side quests and just go do those. But we don't even have to do that because of the fact that we hit level 4, and as discussed last episode, we know that level 4 was where we needed to get to in order to do this next main scenario quest. There's this tab up here that you can just go ahead and click, and it'll take you right to where you need to go for your next main scenario quest. We'll go ahead and sprint. And just as a reminder, you want to sprint just all the time. There's absolutely no reason not to be sprinting. And we'll go ahead and get in here. And again, as a reminder, we're going to be skipping past most of the story, just to try to get everything taken care of. This is going to take us to the Bannock, which is through the Blue Badger Gate. So if we hit map, this time it's going to take us to in the Central Shroud, and you can see the connection here. And this will actually be a good time to talk about the next Ethernet crystal, which is going to be right there. See that major crystal you can see on the map? That'll be something that'll unlock the teleport system. Right now, as we discussed last episode, we only have return, because we can only just come back to Gridania. But as soon as we have teleport, we can teleport between places. If you're trying to save Gil, then teleporting all the time is not the greatest idea. But if you're trying to level in a more expedient manner, where you're getting gear through quests and through kills and completions and everything like that, the amount of gil that you'll be spending to teleport is not as much as you'll get just by questing. So you'll still get a net positive if you want to teleport to all your different objectives. I know a lot of beginner's guides tell you to steer away from teleporting, but I don't really agree with that philosophy. I don't think it's really necessary. We'll go ahead and turn this in. And I believe... Yep, alright. So this is the quest. It's going to just discuss the way that the character pane works. And now will be a good time to do that. So we'll go ahead and press C for character and bring up your character pane. This is going to be where you look at all of your different attributes, your different offensive, defensive properties, physical and mental properties. Mental properties all deal with magic. Your average gear level, as well as your role-specific stats, piety and tenacity, which will only matter if we're playing a tank or a healer. And since we're not going to worry about those at the moment. Right now, as an archer, you can look at the primary stats and you can see which one affects your archer weapons, or as in this case, just range damage in general, which is dexterity. That's going to be our most important stat to start with. The secondary stats will be more important as you level. When you're getting towards endgame, you will really care about itemizing your secondary stats. But right now, again, as a beginner's guide, we're just worried about, if you're trying to decide between two pieces of gear, just take the one that gives you more dexterity, or if you're playing a lancer, you would want to take whichever one gives you more strength. So to pass this quest, as you can see, it's red, even though we should be able to pass it by level. I guess we're about 500 XP short, but what we need to do is we need to get item level 5 gear in most of our slots. So if we were doing side quests, we could get side quests that would give us, well, not this one, that would give us gear. Dang, neither one of those. That's bad time to try to use that example. But you can get, through side quests, you can get pieces of gear that will fulfill this requirement. Or if you're trying to just go fast, like Sonic, then you can just run over here to the vendor and buy yourself some level 5 gear. We need it for what? Head, chest. Let me double check. Head, body, hands, legs, and feet. So we're not level 5 at the moment, so this gear we can't equip in the first place. because it needs to be item level 5, and conveniently item level 5 gear is also going to be having a level 5 level requirement. If you look when I mouse over this leather eye patch, it says item level 5 when it's discussing the item, but it also has the Disciple of War level 5. That's going to be the class level requirement to actually equip that piece of gear. If it says Disciple of War, then every class, every combat class that is not a magician of some kind can use this piece of gear. As we level up, it'll get a little more specialized. The Disciple of War gear will begin to differentiate first between tanks and DPS, and then it'll differentiate itself even further later into specific jobs. So we know that we want to get this gear, and we will go ahead and purchase it despite being able to unable to equip it at the moment, simply because we're going to go complete another stage of the hunting log in order to cover it. We're going to skip the belt because we don't need it. And we're actually going to need to go ahead and get a little bit of gil in order to get the boots, because we're about 80 gil shy of being able to do that as well. So when you got a couple pieces of gear, we'll go ahead and press H to look at the hunting log. So we have Mightlings in the North Shroud, but we're in Central Shroud. Let's see if we can find one that's in Central Shroud. So water sprites in Central Shroud. Were they in the Jadeite Thick? Nope, they're in Green Tier. Okay. So we'll look at the map. And over here to the southeast is Green Tier. All of the zones in the game are divided into these sub-zones, as you can think of it. If you want to think of it in the form of like a city, and these are the neighborhoods. So we're going to go ahead and run to Green Tier to go kill us some water sprites. And this will give us the XP to get us to level 5 in order to actually equip the pieces of gear that we want. Now that we have a buff, if you notice, I'm going to be using it pretty much on cooldown as long as we're in combat. And it's the same principle while you're leveling as we are maintaining that critical hit buff. This Raging Strike ability is going to just increase our damage by a flat 10%. And there's really no reason to not just use it whenever you can. Again, if you're a more experienced player and you're watching this for some reason, you might try to poke holes in that argument and be like, okay, well, you want to try to stack your buffs together and etc., etc. But for right now, when we are level 4, just use it on cooldown as long as you're in combat and get that extra 10% damage. Things get more complicated later, but we will deal with that later. Let's go ahead and get these water sprites down. So we could be we're going to go ahead and kill these black Fs as well, because as we can see, even though we didn't look in the hunting log, you can see the coin icon on them. So we know that it's in the hunting log. So we know that we're not going to lose anything by killing these. We're just going to gain some kills on the hunting log, gain some extra experience that we were going to want at some point anyway. And the reason I'm doing this instead of just completing one of those side quests that were right there is, as you just noticed popping on screen, when we hit level 5, we just unlocked a new class quest. Class quests, if you remember from the first episode, would be one of the only other things you need to do besides main scenario quests in order to be able to get from 1 to 50 in as expedient a manner as possible. So we will go ahead and complete this stage of the hunting log just to get that extra XP, especially since it'll probably get us into level 6. And then we will go ahead and go back to town, run back to the Archers Guild and do that level 5 quest, which will likely give us a piece of gear that'll fill one of those slots, in addition to a new weapon, which will be handy. 4 class quests. Until you hit the expansion content, you will get a class or job quest every 5 levels, so you can just plan around that. And I guess this will be a good time to talk about a new type of ability that we just got. So we just got Venomous Bite And this will be another, I guess, different type of weapon skill that you'll encounter. And that is a damage over time effect. As you can read right there, it delivers an attack with a potency of 100. But the important part there is it also leaves a debuff called Venom. And that Venom debuff is going to inflict 40 potency damage per tick over 18 seconds. So this will be another thing we just want to apply. If we can safely assume that the dot is going to tick at least twice, then we would want to apply it on any target we're about to fight. If the reason I say we want it to tick at least twice is because then it does more total potency than a single use of our straight shot, or our heavy shot. What's it? Yeah, heavy shot. And that makes it worth it, basically. If the target's going to die in 1 or 2 heavy shots, there's no real reason to apply the Venomous Bite debuff, because it will die before any of that potency actually matters. But with 2 ticks, which is take approximately 4 seconds, the total potency of that attack now becomes 180, and then every tick beyond that is just stacking that potency higher and higher. So it becomes more and more effective the more of the duration it can actually apply. Run back over to the Archers Guild. Okay. On the next episode, I will have rebound my keys, just because it's driving me nuts. No, I guess, well, no, I'll, after we grab this quest, I'll go ahead and walk through how to do rebinding. Just, not a super in-depth example, but just how to get to that menu. So when we press, we can either press escape or click the system menu, and we'll go to keybind. And for this, you can actually set secondary key bindings to everything, which, I mean, if you want to get that crazy, then go ahead and get that crazy. But what we're going to do is we're going to take move left and move right and just unbind them all together. And by doing that, we're just going to click them and right click them. And then we're going to change the binding for strafe left and right to A and D. And that just makes it to where, and now if I press Q and W, or Q and E, nothing happens. And if I press A and D, I strafe left and right, which means now if I want to look around, I'm going to right click and move my mouse, which is simply just faster. And it's a technique that you're going to want to practice. So the earlier you do that, the better it's going to be for you in the long run. It's a technique that when you get into endgame is kind of expected of you to know how to do. At least if you're playing on the mouse and keyboard. Obviously, if you're playing on a controller, your movement controls and your ability to look around are going to be different. So we need to run around and kill some targets. So if you look on the map, you can see these orange zones. Each one of these orange zones is going to be where your current, or where a quest objective is that you are currently tracking. If you're not currently tracking the quest, you can still complete it if you happen to come across an objective at it. But it won't give you these zones on the map to work with or anything like that. Can we shoot that from here? Oh, gotta get right here. Gotta get around the corner to shoot that butt. There you are. Alright, and we'll go ahead and we'll make use of the teleport just to kind of show how it works, as opposed to just telling you about it, as we did in the last episode. So we'll just interact with any of the crystals, click Ethernet, and then we'll just teleport to a place we want to go. In this case, being the Archers Guild. And bam, we are right here. So if your computer takes forever to load, probably be faster just to run over there. But since we have a decent computer that we're working with, the little loading screen did not take nearly as long as it would have to run that direction, even sprinting. Alright, so next stage of the quest, they want us to go out and actually kill things. So we need to go to a different section than we went to before. We need to go to the North Shroud, as opposed to the Central Shroud. And as you again, if you click, you can see where exactly we need to go. So, since we are going to be running to the North Shroud, this will also be a good opportunity to look for any aetheryte crystals we can go ahead and grab during this run. Unfortunately, I don't think there really is one until we get into Old Gridania. As you see, the paths from New Gridania are only going to lead us to the Central Shroud, which is not where we're trying to go. So we're going to need to go into the Old Gridania, which is the second half of the city. And since we looked on the map and it's to the west, we'll go ahead and go up through this section into Old Gridania. Alright, so we do have an aetheryte crystal right here, so we'll go ahead and just grab this. Again, anytime you happen to be passing by one, just grab them. If you want to run around the city and explore it and grab them all right at the start, that's a good idea. We didn't do that on this particular playthrough, but it's something that definitely comes in handy. The further you get into the game, the more you are trying to do by moving around, the easier it is to take advantage of any system that allows you just to warp around. We just got the achievement. I feel like you used to actually have to explore the North Shroud and the Central Shroud in order to get those achievements. I'm not complaining about the fact that you just get them by walking outside now, but I don't know if that's because I'm a player who has already actually explored these zones, or what's going on there. These are level 9 Opo-Opos. I feel like there's like lower level ones we can kill later in a different area. There we go, there's some level 5 ones. These are the ones you want for this quest. Can't die from fall damage as long as you're not in combat, so feel free to jump and fall as far as your heart content. Or as much to your... I butchered that phrase. I promise English is my native tongue, even though apparently I can't speak it very well. So we have to kill 8 of these Opo-Opos and 8 Micro-Chews before we will be able to move on to the next quest. And as you can see, we have a hunting log target right here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in the episode right here, because it's been about the duration that I'm trying to keep these, about 15 minutes. So basically what we're doing is we're just going to be... Actually, I'm going to go ahead and show that now is a good time to consume a potion. I pressed I to bring up the inventory, and I'm going to go ahead and right-click and hit use on this potion to keep me alive. If I drag this onto my bar, you can see that it's got a cooldown. You can't just, spam potions like this is Skyrim or something. You can't just eat or drink as much as your heart content right at the start. But it did keep me alive. I definitely would have died if I had not consumed that potion. I pulled off a little more than I should have. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and put a cut in the episode. And when we come back, I will have completed this quest. And then we'll talk about, next episode, we'll go through the armory chest. And, what to look for in your gear. Specifically, we'll analyze the individual items a little more. As well as continue the main story quests. So thank you very much for sticking around, guys. I will see you in the next episode. Make sure to like if you enjoyed this video, if it helped you out in any way. And subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.